Well, just who is the nastiest and scariest player that's played for each of our championship teams? That's the question we've asked each of our teams this Halloween. Some of the answers are quite unbelievable. Our Leeds fan in particular struggled to think of which one they were going to choose. But who for them is the scariest player they were happy was playing for their side? Here's what they said.
Tommy Doherty. I think whether it was him getting chopped or someone else, he had their number marks. So for me, the nastiest, I wouldn't say nastiest, but yeah, I would say Tommy Doherty for me. Excellent.
Nastiest player that I've ever seen in Sunderland has to be Lee Cattermole for me. I mean, his yellow card tally speaks for itself. He was always the first person to stick a 2-foot tackle in and get the crowd going, especially at home games. And I think everyone's going to fondly remember that iconic picture of him stood over Jack Callback, lying on a heap on the floor in a Newcastle shirt. So yeah, Lee Cattermole definitely nastiest Sunderland player.
Right, so the nastiest player for me, in my opinion, has got to be Craig Bellamy, because you know, when he played for us, he was always hurling abuse at players and referees. And, you know, he always played angrily. So that's what I think.
The nastiest player for Sheffield United is also my favourite ever player. That might tell you something about me. But, yeah, Chris Morgan. What a player. Nasty, hard, vicious, everything you need to be a Sheffield United player, but also the nastiest player that's ever played for Sheffield United.
Nastiest player for Pompey for me is between two. It's either Herman Hreiderson or Ricardo Roca. But because of what Ricardo Roca done to our friends down the road with kicking the ball into the crowd and then pushing Adam Lallana, I'm going to give Roca the nod.
Yeah, so there's like you say, a lot of candidates down the years, isn't there? But I'm going to go for one going back a few years from David Batty. You know, he's had a couple of spells at the club. And, you know, there's a couple of things that really spring to mind. First of all, from his first spell, a video of him, you know, be doing the rounds every year around pre-season of him dumping former City manager Roberto Mancini over an advertising hoarding, which, you know, in pre-season you don't see much of. And then one from his second spell where he's roughing up Cristiano, a very young Cristiano Ronaldo as well, in a game against Manchester United. And, you know, that sort of thing was pretty powerful, of course, for Batty down the years. But he can also play as well, which is, you know, great mixture of player, great player for us down the years, and really enjoyed him in his second spell in my teenage years down at Ellen Road.
The nastiest player to play for Derby County there's a few candidates at centre-back, but I'm going to give it to a guy called Jamie Ward, left winger, would put his foot in, used to wind up opposition fans. So, yeah, little Jamie Ward for me.
Nastiest player for Stoke for me, probably in modern time, would be Robert Huth, I reckon. There's been a few, but most people know who, so I'll go with him.
For me, I think the scariest player that Burnley have ever had, he's got to be Joey Barton. He's you know, we're rough on the ball. We're not scared to get in anyone's faces. He's absolutely scariest man you could come up against on a pitch, I reckon. But the best player we've ever had.
The nastiest player for QPR has got to be Joey Barton. He's nasty off the pitch, nasty on the pitch. You only have to look at the game against Man City a few years ago, when he was telling Bobby Zamora to take one out with him. Look, he doesn't get more nasty than him, to be honest. And scariest, I've got to go for Vinnie Jones. Just his presence on the pitch was enough in the 90s to win the midfield battles. But yeah, Joe Barton, nastiest.
So I say probably from my generation, going back into the 80s, the hardest or scariest player that we had at the time was a player called Billy Whitehurst, who played up front. He was about 6'5", and he was an absolute beast. He was rubbish, but he would always be elbowing the centre halves and stuff like that. And I would not want to meet him down a dark alley in Hull at any point. So yeah, Rambo Billy was his nickname as well.
Right, the nastiest player that I can remember playing for Plymouth, I'm going to go back to 1994 in the reign of Peter Shilton as manager. We signed a guy called Peter Swan from Port Vale. Club record fee, £300,000. And he took the captaincy away from Stevie Castle as soon as he came in. And he alienated the fans right away with his attitude. It was horrendous. I've never known a player so bad an attitude as when this guy came in. And it went up from August when he signed to Christmas when the players went out on an evening do. And this guy decided he wanted to fight his own teammates. And I believe he did do. And I think he headbutted a couple. And the local paper got hold of it and did an interview with him, Peter Swan, good old Peter. And what happened? He alienated himself, with, not only with his players, but the whole of the city as well. Told everyone how he disliked playing for Plymouth Argyle Football Club, and he hated the city. So we've got a captain now who was not only alienated everyone who he was playing with, he managed to do the whole 250,000 people that live in Plymouth as well. Nasty man.
I'm sure any non-Watford fans watching this are probably thinking, oh, that guy, Troy Deeney, he was the nastiest Watford player around. But I'm going to give you a different one in Jose Holebas, a fullback for Watford while we were in the Premier League in our sort of 5-year initial stint. Is equal for the record for yellow cards in the season with 14, with another Watford player, Etienne Capoue, and João Paulinho of Fulham. But, I mean, he was an absolute nutcase, loved a slide tackle, was not afraid to drag a man down, pull him back, give him a quick studs on the shin. But also he was often a bit touchy with his own fans. He once started a argument in the away end at Southampton away after I think we drew there 1-1. Got into a bit of a spat with a fan and had to be pulled away by Ben Watson. So yeah, nastiest player this Halloween for me with Jose Holebas.
I think I'd have to say Mo Besic. He was a player that I think Borough fans really liked. He made some really good tackles. Sometimes got the odd yellow here and there. However, he was a good player and adored by Borough fans when he was here. Not for long, but yeah, he was a player that you were happy that he wasn't on the other team. Let's just say that.
Okay, so if I had to pick just the one name, then Sheffield Wednesday's hardest guy I've seen play for us, who bled for the shirt and went in all feet in every time I ever saw him play, it has to be Mike Lyons. Mike Lyons for me, he was everywhere and he would really get involved and nothing fazed him at all. Nobody fazed him. He's the hardest guy I've seen in a Wednesday shirt in my lifetime.
Yeah, so if I had to pick one player to be the nastiest player, I remember as a kid watching Andy Wing sort of trudge around the middle of the park. Definitely a player where if he couldn't win the ball, he would definitely take the man with him after. I had a little spell coaching the youth academy teams where they went on to have a bit of a dodgy disciplinary record. So I think that motto carried over from playing to coaching career.
It's an easy answer, and that's Tom Lockyer. I think he was a proper master of the dark arts for us. He got, I think it was last season, he got Bellegarde for Wolves sent off in a very controversial manner. I can't remember exactly what happened, but I think he ended up rolling on the floor, and VAR had a look at it, and they went straight for the Bellegarde red. And it was the amount of grappling and shirt pulling he used to do. I used to think, luckily, I don't think he was sent off in the Premier League, but I think if VAR was in the Championship at the time he was playing for us, I think they would have had a look at a lot of incidents. Like it was amazing to have him in our defence. He was very streetwise defender and definitely had a very good nasty side to his game.
So one of the nastiest players that I can remember of recent time in my lifetime would be Carl McFadzean. Absolute ripple. I'm so happy he played for us. But I know all you Cov fans remember that one photo of him. But I think it was against Blackburn, I'm pretty sure. All the players are laying on the floor and Fadzi stood there by himself, above all of them. I absolutely loved him. If he played against us, I'd be terrified of him. So I'm going to go with Carl McFadzean.
Okay, so my player would have to be Bayo Akinfenwa. Such a unit, really. He was not a nasty player by any means, but because we don't really do nasty at the club, but he was so strong and he was pretty good technically as well, really good with his feet, scored goals as well. And it's just one of those players, I think he was the strongest player in the Football League. He's been on Soccer AM, a bit of a personality about him as well.
Okay, so Mill's nastiest player. Now I'm going for Steve Morrison because obviously he got in a few fights back in the day when he was at Millwall. Nasty player on and off the pitch, very stubborn character. Let us know your thoughts down below in the comments, and if you can do better than me, feel free to comment.
Hi, so the nastiest player I've got for West Brom is Claudio Jacob, South American centre midfielder, very tenacious, very robust, never shy away from any tackles, and often left a few tackles on some players as well. Whereas wore his heart on his sleeve and very popular amongst us fans at the time as well.
Yeah, so for me, it's got to be Robbie Savage. I think he was. He was just, like I said, one of those players that when he was playing for you, you absolutely loved it. But when he's against you, in people's faces all the time, horrible, giving the referee all kinds of abuse, etc., all that kind of thing. So he was, he was a fantastic signing for us, and complemented obviously two guy in midfield really well. But he was really up there with one of those players that just wound everybody up.
So for me, the nastiest player in my lifetime has to be none other than Ben Pearson. I think many Preston fans will share the same views. Just crunching into tackles here and there. Or I think if you asked him to slide tackle his nana, he'd probably do it for you. I also found a stat which I think is the most ever booked Preston player with about 58 yellows or something like that. He was definitely never one that you wanted to play against, especially in his prime.